or vice versa. You know, they have young folks here bring mom and dad in here and go somewhere and do something as a family unit. And being on the Parks and Recreation Board gave me an opportunity to give some feedback there, because I knew where they were going with some of the things. So all in all, to answer that question, there was quite a variety of what people wanted to do. And I think their concern is how the city is going to grow, and what are we doing to keep up with it. There seem to be a lot of family type issues as far as what is there to do for my teenage kids, what is there to do with my preteen kids. You know, what's the city doing on that sort of thing. This is what we want to see, and I think the city's gone a long way recently to give us some of those things like the skate park and things of that nature.
How would you rate the job the current city staff is doing?
Give me a 1 to 10, or where you at?
Comfortable with?
Okay, that's situational. I think in some situations they do an excellent job. In other situations, they don't do as well a job. Sitting in some of the city council meetings, I have heard a few of them speak up and say, you know, we probably need some more information on this. When other times I went ahead and voted, and I probably wouldn't have voted with them. So is that a bad record, or is that it's a disagreement? So to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10, that would be very difficult as an overall, because it is situational, because of my disagreements or agreements.
What are some of the areas you disagree with
recently? There was a property rights issue. There was a gentleman that came to one of the meetings and he missed the deadline for his opt-out, and he was there on behalf of his uncle and father-in-law, I believe it was. And his was okayed or agreed upon or voted upon that he would be opted out because of his situation, and he explained it, and it was pretty thorough. There were 2 other situations where they were going to be opted out, even though they missed the deadline, they were going to opt out anyway. There was a 4th property, as I recall, that did not get opted out because they were, well, to me, they didn't think about the property rights of the individual, and I definitely disagreed with that.
Is that a value that might come into play to your other decision making as issues came up before the council, property rights, and how does that value, whatever it might mean to you, could you see it applying itself to other decisions?
Well, if it had to do with property rights, it would definitely have a lot to do with the decision.
Is that, would you naturally, in most cases, tend to vote for private property owner? Or how do you see that playing out?
I would lean toward private property rights. It would also be situational because it would depend on what they want. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can get, if it's a typical property right invasion type, we're going to take something away from someone, that's an issue with me. It's a very strong issue. If it was a situation where somebody wanted to move in a large amount of animals on a smaller piece of property, and that's going to invade the privacy of people on either side of him, that's another issue. So property rights are very important, and it's also situational.
Talk a little bit about economic development, the role that the city council should play in that, and also working with the foundation, the
Mm-hmm.
Economic Development Foundation, that's been newly organized.
Mm-hmm. That newly organized panel, I'm actually very excited, and I totally approve of what they've done. Because it felt like, to me, it felt like we weren't getting anything done. We were just kind of spinning our wheels in kind of in slow motion or something. And I really feel that the city council should release the reins a little bit. And again, that's a perception that I've developed based on other people's feedback, saying the city council's too involved with some committee they formed or had something to do with forming. They want too much control over that. Well, let them do what they're supposed to be doing. You gave them a charter of some sort, and you told them to do something of, some parameters of something. Let them go do it, and give them an opportunity. A new formed board, you cannot have or cannot expect results in just a few weeks. Everybody came together. I think there's now 9 members, as opposed to 40. They're supposed to do certain things. Well, let's allow them to do certain things and then come back to the city council and say, this is what we've got. We've got a prospective new business coming in town, or whatever it is. So the city council's role is, they just decided to form this committee or overhaul it, or whatever term you would like to use. Let's see how it works. And if it's not working, then whatever that time frame is, was it 180 days? I don't know. Whatever that decision was, bring it back and do something different. So the city council shouldn't control every venue that's going on in Kerrville. Should not. Should they monitor it? Perhaps, yes. But we've hired some experts, we've tapped into some expertise that actually live here, who volunteer for some of these things. Let them do what they say they can do. That's exactly how I see city council's role.
So as a career military man, how do you see yourself fitting in with city council?
Well, I'm a very structured person, so I suppose I'd fit in very well. My personality is very structured. I've read some of the things from the state level on how cities are supposed to be structured at the city council level. That a transition into that would be no issue. Dealing with different personalities, I think it's great to hear somebody else's perspective on how they see things, how things should be done. Anytime you have a mixture of different personalities to come to a common goal, I think that's a very good thing. If you just stand back and listen to someone else's opinion, someone else's perspective, it usually sparks a very good idea collectively. That's how I see myself.
What are your thoughts about a civic center? And should the city be involved in helping fund it?
The city should not be involved in helping to fund it. If a private corporation came in and wanted to build some sort of community center or convention center, that's what you're referring to, I presume, I say go for it. Because at some point in time, if a private corporation sees the need here in this area, they are not going to come in and it's not going to be a belly flop. They're not going to come in and spend a lot of money and then fall over on it. They'll see a need for it, they'll make money on it, and the city will eventually see some revenue on that, and in the future maybe a joint venture or something of that nature later down the road. But to have the city or the taxpayers fund that, I'm very skeptical on that in today's economy.
If you weren't elected this time around, do you see yourself continuing on the Parks and Rec, or is there another avenue that you would like to serve?
I'd like to go on some other boards, get some other experience. Certainly, absolutely. Yeah, stay involved. To stay involved is to better myself, set an example for my children, and of course my grandchildren. To see their, to see someone get involved, and when you talk about things like that, and they want to get involved, and it just spreads, and it's a good thing.